press the bell icon on the YouTube app and never miss another update.
Hello children, so we are in atomic structure. We are discussing part 13 today, and our discussion today is discovery of fundamental particles, different experiments conducted. J.J. Thomson set up one experiment to find out the basic nature and to find out what each substance is composed of, what are the fundamental particles present in an atom. For that, an experiment was conducted in CRT, that is cathode ray tube. Gas at low pressure and high voltage used, and the nature of the basic particle was elucidated. Now, what exactly was the setup in which the fundamental particle called electron was found out? So, in simple terms, cathode ray discharge tube experiment gave us the clue and gave us the information for the fundamental particles of electron, which is negatively charged because it behaved like that, and the same has got some particle nature, even it has got some wave nature, even it could produce heating effect, and even it could penetrate. Now, why I am mentioning about all the properties without discussing the experiment itself? Because you will come to know what exactly are the properties shown by that discharge present in that particular experiment and present in a particular setup. So what was done, children, was he took apparatus, a glass tube, and this glass tube had two metallic rods on the two ends, which we call as electrodes. One of this was attached to the negative and other was attached to the positive terminals of the battery, and high voltage was supplied. There was a perforation, or in other words, there was an evacuation pump also kept. What for? I am going to tell you this. What he did is, because already Faraday had worked, we know we have certain statements called Faraday's laws. Already Faraday had worked that when you are passing electric current through a particular setup, you see chemical reaction is coming into play. So we have, in our second year, you will read about laws of electrolysis. Now, J.J. Thomson worked on it to find out the properties of those individual particles which atom is composed of. Initially, when high voltage was supplied and pressure was almost 1 atmosphere, there was no observation. Nothing could be observed. There was nothing flowing through it at all. So as he started to reduce the pressure, he could found out some glow, because as high voltage was applied and pressure was reduced, electric current started to flow, and it started to flow from cathode to anode. So it had started from cathode and it was moving towards anode. So those particles were called as cathode rays or cathode ray particles. Now try to understand it. Why high voltage was given? So that the gas which is present and the color of the gas, there was a color development also within the chamber, and it was dependent upon the gas taken into consideration. As soon as high voltage was supplied, the gas present within this chamber got ionized. And once the gas got ionized, it became a conducting region for these particles which will be starting from cathode towards anode. Am I clear or not? Now, in order to further elucidate it out, what they did is that particles, those which started from cathode and moved towards the anode, it gave it a clearance, negative, positive charge, and there is a negative charge. They are moving away from negative charge, close to what charge? Positive charge. And we have a simple rule that like repels like. So starting from negative and moving towards positive indicates those particles have what charge? Negative charge. What else they did is, they created perforation. Suppose in the next setup what they did is, so I'll say here, I'll not mention down the whole thing. So they created some perforations on the anode, and on the back of it, they kept one photographic film, fluorescent film like zinc sulfide. Now, as these particles were starting from anode, as these particles kept on moving, kept coming, they passed through this, and wherever they hit, they created tiny flash, or they created fluorescence. So it's like white light hitting the dark surface, there will be illumination, a tingling illumination will come into play there, like photographic film in the TVs as well. So when the electric current will come, so a bright spot will be generated at a particular place that will later expand. Is it clear or not? So they could find out that it itself is not visible, but the path through which it is moving, it illuminates that path, means it visualizes that path. Itself those particles are not visible. They start from cathode and move towards what? Anode, indicating the properties that you have. They are moving away from negative charge, means it itself is a negative charge, negatively charged particle. One more important thing that they found out with respect to this was that as soon as gas was changed and as soon as the cathodes and anodes were changed, as the material was changed, cathode and anode, it was changed. Suppose initially if they had kept iron or zinc or some other metal, when they changed this with some other metal, they did not find out any change in the properties at all. But yes, the color that was generated or that was illuminated or that color we could see in the chamber, that was dependent upon, that color was dependent upon the gas, and that is quite obvious. We have learned yesterday itself in our Bohr's model of an atom, if the gases are different, nuclear charge will be same or different? Nuclear charge will be different. Because nuclear charges are different, so the color development, when the electrons are coming back to the ground states, will be different. So different gases will generate different colors. However, changing the nature of, so changing the electrode, properties remain the same. Color of the gas we are not bothered about here. So when they changed the electrode, they could still find the same property, indicating by changing the material, they still found same thing happening, that proved them that this particular particle is a fundamental particle of every matter, and that fundamental particle was called as electron. Compared to this, children, cathode ray discharge tube experiment, one more experiment that was conducted to find out, because atom is electrically neutral, to find out the protons in an atom. So for that, one more experiment was conducted, that is called as anode ray experiment. Anode ray experiment. And in that, children, whatever the property we can see in cathode rays, same properties are seen in anode rays, but opposed to that. Say cathode rays start from cathode, move towards anode, and anode rays will start from anode, that is what charge? Plus charge, and move towards what? Cathode, indicating those anode rays are what? Charged, positively charged. Are you getting it or not? So these were two experiments conducted to elucidate out the structure and find out electrons and protons. Anode ray experiment was used to find, I am not going in deeper details of anode ray experiment or cathode ray experiment to such an extent. So we are understanding the basic fundamentals here. Clear? But one difference between cathode ray experiment and anode ray experiment was, although cathode rays were independent of the nature of the material used, but anode rays were dependent, and that is obviously because if suppose they will take different gases or they will take different electrodes will have different number of protons in it. As a result of that, under the application of the voltage, the properties will be varying. You are getting the point. And here what is the fundamental particle coming out? Electron, and it comes out from any and every metal itself. So both of these are fundamental particles, but anode ray experiment was dependent upon the nature of the material used, because if nuclear charge of different substances will be different. Am I clear? But the properties shown by electrons were same. So anode ray discharge tube experiment, anode ray experiment was used to find out, elucidate out what? Structure, find out the number of, or find out the protons. That protons are also fundamental particles to an atom. And later in the radioactivity, Chadwick was able to find out neutron. How? When he bombarded beryllium by alpha particles, he could find out a massless particle called as neutron. And late discovery of neutron occurs, and there was a need to have a particle which contains mass in an atom, because there was always coming the mass defect in atoms. Suppose we say mass of an atom is due to what? Protons. However, when calculations of mass was done, it was found out that the mass what we are observing is more than the expected mass from protons, because the mass of electrons is extremely less. So the need was there that there must be some other particle which has mass but it does not contain any charge. So radioactivity was helpful in finding out the neutron. It was Chadwick who worked on it, bombarded alpha particles on beryllium, and we were able to find out neutron. So anode ray discharge tube experiment helped us to find out proton, and its properties were different to that of cathode ray discharge tube experiment. One more important property that I will show here. Say children, we have the electrode here. What is the charge here? Minus. They made one standing region here which was attached with a fan. Say they made it positively charged. As these particles started to move, obviously they hit this fan. Two things happened. The cross which was generated, this cross could be found on the fluorescent screen on the back with ease, creating the shade. So indicating what nature? Wave nature. At the same time, when this cross, which is technically a fan, when this was hit by these alpha particles, it started to show slow motion, indicating what nature of this particle nature. Also, when it was hitting it created some heating effect, and it had some penetration as well. You can understand those things very easily now, because we already know electron, when it is moving in an orbital, it will behave as a wave. But once this electron is hit by the photon, it behaves as an particle. So there are both natures exhibited by this fundamental particle itself. Similar way, you can apply it for the anode ray discharge tube experiment as well. Am I clear with the thought here, children? Why am I clear? So the fundamental remaining particle. So anode ray experiment helped us to find out the positively charged region, that is protons. Radioactivity helped us to find out alpha particles within the atom, and then different experiments to find out what? Electrons. Now, one most important thing that was found out was specific charge. That is right, children. While E is charge of electron and ME is mass of electron. How it was done? Same experiment. The only things that were altered here were the magnitude of electric field and magnetic field that was put. Now, how exactly was the setup there? So, same discharge tube was taken. This had fluorescent screen on it. We have cathode here. This is anode. Sorry. I'll mention now the particles starting here. There were perforations made in this, as I mentioned a while earlier. So these particles started to move through. Then what they did is, in order to find out exactly the specific charge of an electron, specific charge, that is mass by mass of electron ratio, this is specific charge ratio, they let these alpha particles, which are technically electrons, these alpha particles were allowed to pass through electric and you can see the diagram. So electric and magnetic fields were kept mutually perpendicular. This way electric field and this way magnetic field. And carefully it was observed what will happen to the alpha particle, because on the back of it we have the fluorescent screen. So we have support 3 regions. What will happen to these alpha particles? Will they pass through and they will remain undeflected? They will hit at a particular spot. Say we have this spot as B. This one is spot B, then this one is spot A, then this one is spot C. If they pass through undeflected in presence of an electric field, first electric field was put, then magnetic field was put, then electric and magnetic field was balanced. So, first of all, what they observed is the deflection that occurred in these alpha particles. Deflection in alpha particles occurring means they are exhibiting the particle nature. So, they found out that deflections occurring in these, what particles? Not alpha particles, sorry, cathode ray particles, which we called earlier as what? Electrons. They found out deflections will be more when the magnitude of charge or voltage is more. So when there is more charge on these electrons, the deflections will be more, and if you increase the voltage, if you increase the magnitude of the charge through which they are passing, the deflections are further increased. Second thing, deflections are proportional to mass of those particles. Clear? Third thing, the properties they exhibited were purely of a negatively charged particle, because in presence of electric field, these alpha particles got deflected towards A. That means they were attracted by which field? Positive field. When electric field was shut off and magnetic field was put in, they started to show the properties what? The negatively charged particles they showed properties opposed to the electric field. They start to move towards what? Negative region. So they start to hit the region C. When there was a careful balancing of positive and negative charges, they were keeping, J.J. Thomson was keeping an observation of the amount, the magnitudes, the deflections. When a careful examination, they balanced electric and magnetic fields, particles hit it at spot B. On making a careful examination of all these observations, he found out the charge by E by mass of electron ratio to be equal to what? 1.7588. We'll write 1.75 into 10 to the power 11 coulomb per kg, because electron's charge will be in terms of coulombs and mass of electron will be in terms of kgs. So it will be 1.75 into 10 to the power 11 coulomb per kg. So through this was able to find out the specific charge of an electron. And knowing the specific charge of an electron, Milken's oil drop experiment helped us to find out the charge on electron, and the charge of electron is minus 1.6 into 10 to the power minus 19 coulomb, because charge of electron is what? Negative. So actual magnitude of charge is how much? 1.6 in 10 to the power minus 19 coulomb. This is called as absolute charge. And when we are writing the charge of electron in an atom is minus 1, we are talking about relative charge. Now it is obvious, actual value of the charge of electron is 1.6 10 to the power minus 19 coulomb, negative. Now because atom is electrically neutral, so what will be the charge of a proton? So charge of the proton, which was found by another experiment, will be plus 1.6 into 10 to the power minus 19 coulomb. So absolute charges can cancel. If you find out the ratio of these two charges, for electron it will come minus 1, for proton it will come plus 1. So plus 1 and minus 1 that we are writing are the relative charges. But 1.6 in 10 to the power minus 19 coulomb is the actual charge. So Milken's oil drop experiment, charge on the electron could also be found out, right or not? And how could it technically be found out, charge of the electron? How can you find out the charge of electron? By Milken's oil drop experiment, charge of electron was done, and mass of electron could be calculated as well. Charge of electron was done. How can you calculate mass of electron? So mass of electron was found by the ratio of what? Charge of electron, that is E divided by specific charge ratio. E divided by E by M. So this is specific charge ratio. This is charge on electron. So what is charge on electron? Faster. 1.6 into 10 to the power minus 19 coulomb. And what's the value of E by M? 1.75 into 10 to the power 11 coulomb per kg. So these two will be off. We'll get mass of electron as 1.6 divided by 1. Actually it is 1.66 in 10 to the power minus 19 divided by 1.759 into 10 to the power 11 coulomb per kg. Mass of electron comes to be 9.1 into 10 to the power minus 31 kg. This is the mass of electron. Charge of electron minus 1.6 10 to the power minus 19. Proton 1.6 10 to the power minus 19. Absolute charge, relative charge, mass wise, proton is 1 unit, electron is no unit, because mass of electron with respect to proton and neutron is negligible. That's what we mentioned also, children. Atomic mass is number of protons plus number of neutrons, because these are the mass containing particles. Generally we will write, if atomic mass is 2, suppose hydrogen, suppose helium, atomic mass is what? 4. How do you find out? Atomic mass 4 means what's the number of protons? 2. So we'll write 2 plus 2, right or not? This is called as relative mass we are writing. In actual practice, mass is different. For electron it is 0.00057. For proton it is 1.008, and neutron it is 1.008. So those are called as absolute masses and relative masses. On your textbook, a proper table is given: relative charge, absolute charge, all those values. Am I clear here? Oh, am I clear here? So mass of electron comes 9.1 10 to the power minus 31. So I'll write down some important parameters here. So important parameters are right. So we have electron, we have proton, and we have neutron. Correct. So for electron, what is the charge? Minus 1, it's a relative charge. It is plus 1, it is 0. Then what is the absolute charge? 1.6 into 10 to the power minus 19. 1.6 into 10 to the power minus 19 coulomb. What's the charge here? 0. There is no charge. It has neutrons. Charge is as well 0 here. This is actual charge. So mass wise it is 0.0057. It is 1.008 units. It's also almost 1.008 units. And in terms of actual charge, it will be what? All 0. It is 1. It is 1. So this is relative mass. This is absolute mass in terms of atomic mass units. This is what? Absolute charge. This is what? Relative charge. And this is the representation of what? Electron, proton and neutron. We'll have one more discussion to do, children. Depending upon protons, neutrons and electrons in atoms, we have different classifications, like we have isoelectronic species, isobars, isosteres, isotones. We have so many classifications that I also do in our incoming classes. Am I clear with this postulate? So these were different experiments conducted to find out the fundamental particles of different atoms. Am I clear? So we'll have one more discussion left out, children. So first of all, whatever the discussions we did so far, we will start to solve questions with respect to that. Am I clear here? Right. So let us see some questions with respect to Bohr's model of an atom. So that will be clear. Okay, children. Question is, okay. Question 1 will write, if diameter of an orbit of hydrogen is 16.92 angstroms, total number of electrons in that orbit will be. Question is, if the diameter of an orbit of hydrogen is 16.92 angstroms, total number of electrons in that orbit will be. Options are 2, 8, 16, 32. Think about this question and try to solve it. I'll take some typical examples and typical questions so that we can get a clearance about this. So we have diameter of an orbit of hydrogen equals to 16.92 angstroms. What is the total number of electrons in that orbit? We know, children, to find out number of electrons in an orbit, if you want to find out number of electrons in an orbit, it's always equal to 2n square, where n is principal quantum number. So technically we have to find out n value, but according to the question, nowhere n is given. However, we have been given diameter of an atom. We know for radius, the equation for the radius of nth orbit of hydrogen equals to 0.529. Technically, we can make it 0.53 into n square by z angstroms. Is this equation or not? Right? What is given to us? Diameter of an orbit. If diameter of an orbit is what? 16.92. So what is the radius equal to? Radius will be diameter by 2. Oh, yes or no? This is diameter of that orbit. It is how much? 16.92. What will be radius of that? Half. So radius will be d by 2. That is 16.92 divided by 2. That comes how much? 8.46 angstroms is the radius. Excellent. So radius of nth orbital equals to 0.53 into n square by z angstroms. Because this is hydrogen atom, what will be z value equal to? 1. So Rn is given to you how much? 8.46. So 8.46 equals to 0.53 into n square. Technically it will be 8.46 divided by 0.53 will be equal to n square. Let us solve for 8.46 divided by 0.53. 0.53 to 10 will be 0.53 into 10 will be 5. We need 8. If you make it 10, it will be 10. 10 plus 10, 20. It will be close to the value of 15 to 16. We can even solve it, children. So we have 8.46 divided by, so can I make it 846 divided by 53? 846 divided by 53. Have a look on this. 846 divided by 53, it will be 1. 53, it is 1. 85 will be 3. 31 cannot be 6, it is point. So you got 1, sorry, it is 300 and how much? 31, 86 now. So 5, 5, 3, 15, 5, 5, 25, 1, 26, 265. So if I make it 6 here, 6, 3 is 18, 8, 1 carry, 6, 5, 30, 31. So 3, 1, 8, 3, 1, 6. It will be 15.9, almost equal to 16. So n square equals to what? 16. What will be n equal to? 4. You got your n value or not? So now how many electrons will be there? 2n square. 2 into 4 square, that is 32. So correct option will be option 4. So what I did in this question, children, was we had been given diameter and we are asked to find out the total number of electrons in that orbit. It is quite simple because radius of nth orbital of hydrogen equals to 0.53 into n square by z angstrom. So according to that equation, taking into mind that equation, we were able to solve this question. Am I clear with this thought? Excellent. Let us see the next question, children. Yes. Question is, children, write down. What is the wavelength of the light required? Question number 2. What is the wavelength of the light required? What is the wavelength of the light required? What is the wavelength of the light required? Wavelength of the light emitted when the electron in hydrogen atom comes from N4 to N equals to 2. Let us see the options for it given to us, children. Options are 490 nanometers, then option 2 is 500 nanometers, option 3 is 340 nanometers, and option 4th is 740 nanometers. Am I clear? So these are the options mentioned to us. We are asked what is the wavelength of the light emitted when the electron in hydrogen atom comes from n equals to 4 to n equals to 2, right? We are asked to find out wavelength. We know very easily what wave number equals to RH z square into 1 by n1 square minus 1 by n2 square. So here n1 is 2 and n2 is 4. So wave number will be equal to RH 109,677 centimeter inverse, yes, into z square, because atom is hydrogen, z will be 1, into 1 by n1 square is 2, it will be 1 by 4 minus it will be 1 by 16. Am I clear? So wave number will be equal to 109677. I'll write that again, 109677, and 1 by 4 minus 1 by 16, you can find out the value respectively. So on the whole, children, if you got wave number value, suppose wave number value you got x centimeter inverse, example I'm talking. So you can solve this question. Once you solve it, you will reach some value, x centimeters. Whatever the value you got. Clear? After solving, whatever the value you reach it, wave number will be that. But our question is to find out the wavelength of the emitted light. We know wave number equals to 1 by lambda. So I can write down 1 by lambda equals to x centimeter inverse. So what will be lambda equal to? It will be 1 by x, but now it will be centimeters. So with the help of this, you can solve the question. I mentioned x. After you solve this, children, this is your homework. You can do it at home. Calculate it out. So once you do it, x, it will be x centimeters. So wavelength will be inverse of wave number. That's 1 by x, but it will be in centimeters. But answer is given in terms of nanometers. You can convert at the end centimeters to meters, meters to what? Nanometers. And when you solve it out, you will get it, children. Correct option will be 490 nanometers. After solving it, you will get 490. Did you follow it? What was the question asked? What is the wavelength of the light emitted when the electron in hydrogen atom comes from n equals to 4 to n equals to 2? Very simple. So we have to see what is the higher energy level. N equals to 4 to n equals to 2, obviously emission is there, because electron is coming from higher energy level to lower energy level. So with the help of that, you will be able to solve this question. Wavelength concept clear here? Right. Let us see next question, children. Write down. Question number 2. Wavelength of first line of Balmer series, wavelength of first line of Balmer series in hydrogen spectrum. Your options are 656.5 nanometers, option 2 600 nanometers, option 3 670 nanometers, and option 4 700 nanometers. This is the question. Question is lambda, wavelength of first line of Balmer series in hydrogen spectrum. First line of which series? Balmer series in hydrogen spectrum. So let us see and solve this question, children. Okay. We have to calculate wavelength of first line of Balmer series. Now we know for Balmer series, this is the first series which is the only series in hydrogen spectrum which lies in visible zone. So for that, N1 is 2, N2 will be 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, so on and so forth. Which line are we talking about? First line. So what is meant by first line? When the electron will come, this is energy level 2. So once it comes from 3 to 2, this will be first line. Correct or not? I said first line is the least energetic line of any series, and limiting line is the most energetic line, means the photons of limiting line will be most highly energetic. So it is 3 to 2. Which series? Balmer. Now we have to calculate wavelength. I will directly write wave number equals to 109677 into Z square, because it is hydrogen atom, Z square will be 1 by, what is N1 square? That is 1 by 4, because it is 1 by N1 square minus 1 by N2 square. That will be 109677, 1 by 1 square. What is N1? 4 minus 1 by 9. So that will be 109677 into, it will be 9 minus 4 by 36 centimeter inverse. So that technically makes it 109677 into 5 by 36. But that is what? Wave number. So what will be wavelength? It will be inverse of that. inverse of that or not? So it will be wavelength will be 36 by 5 into 1 by 109677. So we will get answer in terms of here centimeters, but our option is in nanometers. You can convert this into nanometers. So solve for this, you will be able to get your answer, and correct option will be definitely 656.5 nanometers. Rest of the part I am leaving for you for solution purposes, and it should be simpler one, because we already know the relationship between wave number and wavelength is inverse. Am I clear with this? Right. Or clear or not? Next question. Right. Number of spectral lines. Question number 3. Number of spectral lines produced when electron comes from n equals to 5 to ground state in hydrogen. Options are 5, option 2 10, option 3 15, and option 4 20. What is the number of spectral lines produced when the electron will come? Means it will emit energy and it will come down from N5 to ground state in hydrogen. So what is the ground state of hydrogen atom? N1. The most stable state is N1. So N1 here is 1 and N2 here is what? 5. Now if the question was the number of bands produced, remember number of bands will be 4. How? 5 to 4, 5 to 3, 5 to 2, and 5 to 1. These will be the number of bands produced. But we know each band will be produced of further higher lines. If it is 5 to 4, it will be composed of only one band. It is because it is coming to between two adjacent. If it is from 5 to 3, it will be made up of two jumps. It can be 5 to 4, then 4 to 3, or then 5 to 3. Possible or not? Yes, so there are 3 jumps possible. So each band is further composed of small spectral lines. What did I say yesterday? That in order to find it out, number of spectral lines is produced, how can you find out? Number of spectral lines is equal to N2 minus N1 plus 1. So number of spectral lines in a band equals to into N2 minus N1 divided by 2. What is N2 here? 5. What is N1 here? Minus 1 plus 1. So it will be 5 into N2 minus N1 will be 4. Sorry, what is N2 here? 5. So it is which series? Ground state of hydrogen. So how can you calculate it out? So let me mention the values. 5 minus 1 plus 1. Right? Then you got 5 minus 1 divided by 2. What will that make it? 5. It will be 4. Or yes or no? Or 5, 4 by 2. So how many spectral lines will be produced here? 10 spectral lines. Am I clear? Or clear or not? You can calculate. Yesterday we have done that calculation. Okay. If it is coming from energy level 6 to ground state, then it will become 6. This will also become 6. Then it will be 6, 5 by 2. So then it will become 15. Then the number of spectral lines will be 15. So if it is from 6 to 1, spectral line is 15. If it is from 5 to 1, spectral line is only 10. If it is from 4 to 1, spectral line is further less. So remember, when the distance between, simple term, when the distance between, I mean to say, when the difference between energy levels is more, suppose 1 to 6 or 1 to 5, more the difference of energy levels, more will be each band composed of. Means the number of spectral lines in each band will be more. Did you get it clear or not? Very good, children. Let us see the next question. Question is, question number 5. Ionization energy of a hydrogen atom is 13.6 electron volts. Ionization energy of helium plus will be, options are 13.6, then 13.6 into 2, third option 13.6 into 4, and fourth option 13.6 into 9. These are the options, and all are in terms of electron volts. Now children, we know when you are calculating ionization energy, so if I want to find out energy difference, that is ionization energy, it will be equal to E infinity minus E1, because for helium also N1 is 1. So we know that for E infinity it will be 0. Energy of electron at infinite distance is what? 0. Minus of minus 13.6 into Z square by N square electron volts. So that will make it plus 13.6 into Z square. For helium, what is that? 2. So that will make it 4 by N square, because we are talking about first shell electron volts. This should be the ionization energy required to eject out the electron from helium plus. So the correct option will be 13.6 into 4. There is one more way to solve the question. We will write down how ionization energy of helium plus will be what? Ionization energy of hydrogen into Z square. Very simple. Amount of energy required to eject the electron from particular shell will depend upon the nuclear charge, and we have proved that energy wise it is directly proportional to square of that Z value. So ionization energy of hydrogen according to given question is how much? 13.6. What is Z for it? 2 square. That makes it 4. So 13.6 into 4 will be the correct option for calculating ionization energy. Am I clear? Basic thing. Okay. Let us see next question, children. Question number 6. Question is asking us, ratio of, write down, ratio of radii of fifth orbits of helium plus to lithium 2 plus is ratio of radii of fifth orbits of helium plus and lithium 2 plus is, ratio is 2:3. Second one 3:2. Third one 4:1, and fourth one 5:3. Question is the ratio of radii of fifth orbitals of helium to lithium 2 plus is. Very simple. What will be solution for it, children? We know radius of nth orbital of hydrogen and hydrogen like species equals to 0.53 into n square by z. Is it clear? It will be 0.53 into n square by z. It's a ratio. Now we can write down ratio of radius of helium plus which orbit? Fifth will be equal to 0.53 into 5 square divided by Z. For helium, what is Z? 2 by R of Li2 plus, that is 0.53 into 5 square divided by N. Z square divided by N. Right or not? Sorry, N square by Z. It is fifth orbit, 5 square. So 2 by Z. What is the atomic number of lithium? 3. So it should be divided by 3. Then it will give us, these two will be out. So 5 square will be off. So ratio of radii of helium plus fifth orbit by radius of lithium 2 plus fifth orbit will be what? It will be now 1 by 2 into 3 by 1. So the ratio comes equal to what? 3 is to 2. So the correct option will be second one. Did you get the point? Because we know radius of uni-electron system is found by 0.53 into n square by Z. So here Z is varying, n is same, and RH is also same. A0 is also same. So they will cancel out and you will get the ratio in terms of 3 is to 2. Am I clear? One more question, children, we can solve with respect to this will be, write down. If you want to change the question style a bit, what will be that? Ratio of radii of K is to L, then L is to M will be. Let us not give any options for this and let us solve it out. Ratio of radii of K is to L and L is to M. We know for K what is N value? 1. For L what is N value? 2. For M what is N value? 3. Simple. Ratio of radii of K is to L. So radius will be 0.5, radius of K 0.53 into N square, that is 1 square by, for hydrogen atom we are talking about, Z is 1. Right, for L, what will be that? Radius of L will be 0.53 into L, what is N value? 4 divided by 1, and for M it will be 0.53 into 3 square, that is 9 divided by 1. So ratio of K is to L will be, when you find the ratio of the two, it will be 1 is to 4. And if you want to find out L for M, it will be 4 is to 9. 4 by 9. Am I clear? It is 1 is to 4. Can you do it out now? Did you understand the concept clearly, children? So now the question may be asked, what will be the wavelength of the most energetic line of Balmer series? What will be the wavelength of most energetic line of bracket series? Wavelength of most energetic line of bracket series. Now all of you should tell me what's mean by bracket series. Lyman, Balmer, Paschen, bracket, Pfund. We have Lyman series, Balmer series, then Paschen, then bracket. So for bracket, what is N1? 4. We are talking about the most strongest line, and that's always limiting line. For Balmer, for bracket series, what is N1 equal to? 4. And what will be N2? Infinity. So wave number will be RH Z square into 1 by 16 minus 1 by infinity square, that will be 0. So wave number will be RH Z square will be 1 by 16. Wavelength will be 16 by RH, because this value is in terms of centimeter inverse. So this will be in terms of centimeter inverse. 16 by RH means what? 16 by 109677. So you can convert that depending upon what's the answer given to you. Everyone clear with this? So you have to look on Bohr's model very carefully. If you want to understand it more clearly, read it and look onto the videos 2 to 3 times so to understand it well. Clear, children? Thank you. Read well.